Hi, everybody. I'm here today with Monika Holland, and I am so excited for this interview. For many of you who have read Dr. Natasha's newest Blue Gaps book, you'll know that she has a new version of gaps in there, a few different versions. One of them is no plant gaps, and Monika has become quite an expert on no plant gaps. It is such a powerful protocol, and I'm really excited to talk with her about this today. So I'd like to introduce her to you. She specializes in severe digestive disorders. She is the No Plant Gaps and Enema Masterclass instructor. So you may have seen her before on the GAPS training website, but she specializes in severe digestive disorders, mental nervous system imbalances, and autoimmunity. She has walked the walk, having healed her own severe life-threatening Crohn's disease. Her personal experience gives her compassion, empathy, and intuition when working with clients to restore their gut-brain connection, rebuild their gut lining, repopulate the microbiome, and help them return to a healthier self. She is an expert in no plant gaps and detox modalities, including enemas, parasites, and heavy metal protocols. We can think of Monika as the microbiome researcher who is on a quest to help you on your healing journey. Monika has the following training, knowledge, and experience with GAPS and more. She's a certified GAPS coach and a nutritional therapist. She is a GAPS instructor teaching the No Plant GAPS protocol and the science of enemas with Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride. And then she has Great Gut Guide, which is an online teaching platform. And she's the co-founder of How to GAPS, a Facebook community for members. And she's also the founder of the GAPS 101 podcast. So huge resource. Yeah, really excited to have this interview with you.
Thank you for such a warm welcome and introduction, Marisa. I'm really, really excited and very humbled to be here.
Such an honor for me too. So let's go ahead and jump right into what we'd like to talk about. First of all, can you explain to us, I have my little one here. First of all, can you explain to us what is no plant gaps? Some people can hear about no plant gaps and think, is it just a different form of the carnivore diet? How is it different from the carnivore diet? Can you explain what it is and kind of how it meshes with that?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of confusion about no plant gaps and a carnivore-based diet. So no plant gaps is basically a medicinal diet designed by Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride. And you rightly mentioned that it is described in the latest Blue book. And Dr. Natasha designed it for those people who have probably the most severe issues. So I'm talking about severe digestive issues. I'm talking about severe mental issues. So anyone with Crohn's, anyone from ulcerative colitis, severe IBS, SIBO, diverticulitis, but also severe mental issues like schizophrenia, or any sort of complex and severe cases would probably, those people would probably benefit from no plant gaps. And how is it different from a carnivore diet? Well, let's talk a little bit about what is carnivore diet, because currently we're seeing a very strong trend, especially on social media, on different Facebook groups. It's becoming very popular, and I'm very excited for that. It's really, really great news, because lots of people are bringing awareness to the rest of the world that eating animal-based diets, it's not only safe long-term, but it's also healing. It can be healing. So I'm really excited that that people kind of stop fearing removing fiber, removing plant matter from the diets, and they are actually getting some fantastic medicinal results. But there are obviously different types of carnivore diets, from probably the most restrictive, which is the lion diet, where people eat only beef, water, and salt, and that's it. Then, you know, there are many variations of carnivore diet, and obviously the general rule for carnivore diet would be, well, I eat meat, I eat animals, I eat whatever swim, flies, quacks, runs, then I would eat it. Obviously, some people exclude chicken, some people exclude pork, some people include fish, some people include dairy, some people include organ meats, some people exclude it. So because there are not real guidelines around the carnivore way of eating, what to eat, how to eat it, but also how to prepare it. So there is a lot of confusion about it, and people face challenges because of that. Quite often I work with people who follow carnivore diet, and what I've observed, some of them, they include a lot of commercial dairy. So as you and I know that ultra processed milk, ultra processed, yogurts or commercial cheeses, these items are highly inflammatory. And we know that the GAPS dairy is not inflammatory because we tend to prepare dairy using raw milk. And we ferment it for at least 24 hours. So that's one of the things where, people are confused about dairy. The other thing, some of the carnivore people consume a lot of processed meats, so processed sausages from the shops, processed hams, and those things, they have a lot of unwanted ingredients which can actually hinder the healing or even make the healing worse. So and another challenge with the carnivore diets would be different cooking methods. Some people, they use a very modern cooking methods, like let's say using air fryer or microwave. And sadly, for those with severe issues, these methods will make the food to be a little bit more difficult to digest, and it's not going to be too healing. So what Dr. Natasha did, she designed and refined No Plant Gaps protocol, which is again animal-based diet. She done it over maybe 20 years ago, and over those past 20 years, based on her clinical expertise, based on observation of her clients and patients, she formulated a very well designed and thought protocol. So there are 9 phases. And each phase is introduced when the body is ready to take that animal product. And we start with, and obviously the steps are described in the blue book, so we're not going to go through the steps because we probably will need to spend more time on this call. But we always start with drinking a lot of meat stock, because the first phase is to calm down that inflammation, to calm down that kind of emergency situation in the body, and then slowly introduce foods one by one, going through all the phases. So that's the more or less a kind of overview. What is the difference between No Plant Gaps, where No Plant Gaps fits into the whole, carnivore movement? I hope it kind of gives a little bit more clarity for people who are in either camp, No Plant Gaps or carnivore.
Right. Yes, that was a great explanation. Yeah. Because there's, some little similarities, but there's very specific differences. And I think it's always important for people to know what a very specific protocol No Plant Gaps is, what it's helpful for, and then just how it actually, works in a very specific way. Like it is designed so well by Dr. Natasha to accomplish what it does. So
Oh, absolutely. And she's got so much clinical experience. So it's not anecdotal evidence any longer that there is that thousands of people who recovered, and we're talking about severe cases. We're not just talking about, I don't know, losing weight. We're talking autoimmune diseases. We're talking FPIES. We're talking Crohn's. We're talking schizophrenia and all the other complex conditions.
yes. Yeah, that's just so exciting. And I love that about it. It gives people so much hope. And then, I also was going to add that I'm also really excited about the trend overall just towards carnivore, because it's just an easy way to kind of help lots and lots of people realize that animal plants are good and important and helpful, and we really do need them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They are the building blocks. And if we're talking about healing, we need to rebuild our digestive system. We need to rebuild our nervous system. We need to rebuild our hormonal system. So how are we going to rebuild it if we're not going to provide those building blocks.
Right. Just like Dr. Natasha describes that there's animal foods are builders, plant foods are cleansers. And so that just helps everybody keep it so, clear in their mind of how exactly those different foods work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then can you tell us, why did you follow No Plant Gaps? Can you tell kind of your story about what led you to it and how it helped you?
Yeah, well, for me, it was a miraculous transformation, I must say. And I will be forever grateful to Dr. Natasha for kind of, coming up with this protocol and for the whole GAPS diet, for the whole GAPS protocol. So
Same here.
yeah, I know. I think we all in the GAPS community, all the GAPS practitioners and coaches, we all have our own story to tell. But one of the things what I just wanted to highlight, like I grew up in Poland, in a town which was surrounded by lots of coal mines. So although I was growing up on so-called healthy foods, because the GAPS foods, the Polish traditional foods are GAPS foods. We eat a lot of raw fermented kefir, lots of meat stock, lots of beet kvass, all of those things, GAPS foods, that's Polish food, that's Polish traditional foods. So the GAPS foods weren't a surprise to me. But when I was growing up, because we had so many active coal mines around, and although we were buying stuff directly from a farmer, we had so much heavy metals in our air, in our soil, in our rain, in our water, everywhere. So the level of heavy metals in my brain and the rest of the body was through the roof. Then when I was 6 years old, I was exposed to the Chernobyl nuclear plant explosion. That absolutely wrecked my thyroid and the rest of my hormonal system. So there was a lot of radiation in my body. And then I was diagnosed with the Crohn's disease. And that all kind of, was getting worse and worse and worse, to the point that my Crohn's disease got to the life-threatening stage. There was so much inflammation on scarring, inflammation, scarring, inflammation, scarring, that it created a stricture around my ileum. And my gastroenterologists were saying, we have to cut you open, otherwise, you can die. So I didn't go for the operation. I said there must be a way. And obviously prior to that, I've tried everything, all the diets, you name it, including vegan diet. I think as we all did.
Yeah, for sure. Same here.
When we were looking for answers, we just try and test everything. And of course, I was following Western medicine as well. I was on steroids, I was on immunosuppressants. You just name it, I was trying it. So at some point, I've tried GAPS diet, and it gave me a horrible, horrible reaction. I got such a strong detox reaction. I got such a strong healing reaction. I don't remember my first 3 months, because my brain fog got so bad. My whole body I actually felt as if the train hit me, and bad. But there was something about my intuition. I've never followed my intuition, because I never heard my intuition. And when I started eating GAPS foods, I started feeling and hearing my intuition, and that intuition said, you are on the right track. So move kind of fast forward to later on. It wasn't until I've done No Plant GAPS where I achieved such a deep healing. Like I improved on GAPS, but I healed on No Plant GAPS. So I've done it 4 times already so far. I will probably do it again in the future. And actually, to be honest, currently, most of my diet is animal-based. When I tell people that I eat 2 cups of animal fat a day, it's like, how can you manage that? How can you even digest that? It's like, you train your body heals, and then it craves the food, which are going to heal even more. So thanks to No Plant GAPS, I got rid of more than 250 symptoms, and I'm like so grateful that I found Dr. Natasha, that I found her books, and that I've experimented with No Plant GAPS, and here I am, thriving, happy, And now I'm just spreading the word about no plant gaps because it is a miraculous protocol.
That is so wonderful. Just, yeah. Every time I hear like from anybody, the success stories on gaps and just testimonials of how it's helped them, and I'm always just like, that is incredible, no matter how many times, because we do see it lots and lots, like with my clients and different people. And it's just like every time it's like a new miracle kind of, and that's so wonderful to hear. And I love how you saw that gaps helped you, and this can happen in certain situations, becoming more common about just such a heavy die-off reaction with the regular gaps protocol, and then comparing that to your experience with no plant gaps and how that really fit the situation and brought the recovery that you saw.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Can you also share with us some success stories and testimonials from people that you know who have followed the no plant gaps diet, that you are, familiar with their stories?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things what I wanted to mention, that my story is not unique because there are so many people who followed no plant gaps and have seen fantastic recoveries, improvements, results, and typically if somebody does not have a, let's say, severe condition, sometimes they report to me that within 2 days, their bloating is gone. They report that their energy levels are much higher. They report that their sleep improved. They report that their brain fog is gone. Obviously, when we talk about more complex cases, more severe situations, of course, it takes longer. I'm just going to give you a few examples of my clients. So I've worked with a lady who was in her 50s, and pretty much her whole life she suffered with extreme digestive issues and with extreme neurological issues. And quite often when you have extreme digestive issues, you usually have neurological issues as well. So she had a mixture of diarrhea with constipation, a lot of blood, a lot of cramping, lots of pain, just you name it, all the symptoms relating with the digestive system. Within 2 weeks, the bleeding stopped. Her bloating was getting better and better and better. Within a couple of first months, her digestion became quite sturdy, and she's like, I can't believe it. My whole life, I didn't even know how it feels to have a flat tummy, how it feels not to be bloated constantly, how it is to actually feel the space when you actually tuck your tummy in and you can feel the backbone. Because people with digestive issues, they cannot get their tummy in. You cannot suck the tummy in because it's painful. And there's always, that compacted matter. There is always a lot of, parasites. There is always a lot of yeast. There is always a lot of pain, cramping. So it's impossible. And you know that, Marisa, from your clients as well, I'm sure they're reporting similar things. But another remarkable recovery was a young male who was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he was on medication for many years. And within 6 months, obviously with the help of his medical doctor, he weaned off all the medications. And that was that's just amazing. But one of the things I wanted to mention, I work with many people who, let's say, followed full gaps or even intro gaps for longer than a year, sometimes 2, sometimes even 3 years. And then they obviously achieved some healing, and then they stalled. The healing basically stopped and they got stuck. And there is something there which does not allow them to go to deeper healing. It doesn't allow them to take that next layer of the onion. And quite often when they start no plant gaps, so not only the healing gets deeper and it allows them to release bodily symptoms, but quite often I hear additional feedback from them that suddenly they become nicer, they become happier, they become more fulfilled with life. They are now interested in, let's say, dating they now interested in traveling. So as if no plant gaps opens up not only that space for a physical healing in the body, but also goes very deeply into the emotional and also, you know, perhaps even spiritual, because those people are suddenly hungry for life. And that's what really always kind of, you know, brings tears to my eyes, because I've experienced it as well. And I love that it happens to other people too.
Yes. Oh, that's so good to hear. Yeah. I can definitely relate in my GAPS journey too. I remember telling people like, I feel like a whole new person, and stuff that you did not even expect was part of just like changing your diet and healing what you thought were just physical symptoms. It's incredible. And then I loved how you brought the time frames out. That is amazing. You know, in the GAPS world, such short recovery times and improvement for those things. That's just amazing. I know that kind of a switch that some people have coming to GAPS is that, oh, it's not just like a pill, a medication, or a drug that you just take and then that day your symptoms are switched off. It takes some time, but then I always like to remind people too, like when the recovery actually happens, even if it is weeks or months or something, compare that to your lifetime that you've been struggling with these things, and it's really not that's such a short and amazing recovery to have it happen in weeks and months and things like that.
Absolutely. I also recall a client who didn't poop on her own for 5 years. She just didn't pass a natural bowel movement for 5 years. So she was only relying on enemas and some herbal, you know, remedies to help her with bowel movements. It took her 9 months to start pooping naturally. So one might say, oh my God, it took 9 months. But then you think, comparing to 5 years of daily enemas, of daily, obviously, you know, remedies, 9 months is nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. Thank you for sharing those with us. It's so inspiring. So you have your online training program that you have created. So I'd love to hear more about that. I'm really excited about this resource that you've made. Can you tell us what inspired you to create your online training program?
My clients inspired me. It's every single improvement, every single recovery story, every single smile I see on the face from my clients. And quite often I see clients who are, for instance, depressed, or and when we start working, there is zero smile, there is sadness, there is you know, physical and mental pain. And then I see the smile on the face. That's the biggest inspiration for me, when people start actually regaining their health, and they start kind of, you know, living and thriving. So what I wanted to achieve, because I see many people, I help many people on a no plant gaps journey, and not only, but most of the severe cases I deal with, those people go through no plant gaps, and I've seen so many improvements, but I've got so little time in terms of seeing clients one-to-one, because, you know, when I see clients, I see them for 90 minutes, and then there is a follow-up and so on. And I thought, if I put all that information into like an online training, that will help me to get to the wider audience, and that will help more people to access that knowledge, to access wisdom from Dr. Natasha, to access that protocol in a very easy to follow and practical way, so they know what they're doing. So I really want to help Dr. Natasha to spread the word about no plant gaps, and first of all, to reduce any fears related with no plant gaps. So you know, many people are afraid, oh, if I stop eating plant matter, I will probably develop some nutritional deficiencies. Well, that's actually the opposite. You know, when we focus on bioavailable animal-based foods, we actually restore and fulfill nutritional deficiencies. So I've designed that online training. The first module is covering all the data, all the information about everything from the animal-based kingdom, let's call it a kingdom. Then I go deeply into helping people to transition into no plant gaps, because one of the things what people need to understand, not everyone can jump cold turkey into no plant gaps. And some people who jump there, they face a massive roller coaster. So if we, let's say, have people who followed standard American diet or diet high in processed foods, and they suddenly stop everything and they start no plant gaps, it's going to be a very, very rough journey. The body is not ready for such a healing protocol. No plant gaps is the most healing and the most detoxing protocol spectrum of gaps. So that's why I prepared a module which shows people how to transition if they coming from let's say processed food background. Then obviously I help them with the module where we go through all the steps of the protocol, how to implement them, what to look for, how much they should be eating, how to prepare all the foods. There is also information about what you need in your kitchen, how do you need to prepare yourself mentally. So there is a little bit about the mindset, and also how to prepare yourself socially. Because the worst thing is, when I started No Plant Gaps, is the questions, but you don't eat broccoli? And what about kale? And what about spinach and the carrots? Oh my God, this is so unhealthy. And not only you healing, so you still have brain fog, you still have your mental capacity is not at the greatest level. You really don't know how to react to those comments, and they really drain you. So there is a lot of information and strategies to help people to prepare for those situations. But also, you know, how to implement no plant gaps safely. And no plant gaps is not eating, you know, a carnivore diet and just adding a little bit of meat stock. It's, you know, I'm trying to kind of correct those misinformation everywhere I can. But then also the training includes information about how to then transition and start consuming vegetables. Because if we let's say do no plant gaps, we feel great, and then we eat carrot soup, cold turkey again. Our bodies are wonderful, and they are so efficient. When we stop eating vegetables or any plant matter, our body is so efficient that it switches off enzymes, which the production of enzymes which help digest those plant matter. So the moment we stop no plant gaps and then introduce that carrot soup, let's say, or broccoli soup, or whatever soup it is, the production of enzymes is still sleeping. So that's why we get bloating. That's why we get cramping. That's why we cannot digest it. It sits heavy in our stomach. And it's like, oh my God, now I am so intolerant to carrot. And I used to be tolerant to that carrot. So it's not about being tolerant. It's about how you safely and timely manner, how do you wake up those enzymes? And Dr. Natasha describes design the protocol to transition, which is also part of that course. And obviously, you know, I share my own story. I recorded everything, even pictures of my food. You will see everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I hold nothing back. There is everything there. Because, you know, it's sometimes it's not a rosy journey. Sometimes you have to talk about the things which are painful, hurtful, and on a physical and emotional side as well. Yeah. And the last part is a module with Dr. Natasha, and I cannot stress that enough. This is gold, because, you know, learning directly from Dr. Natasha, who is the creator of the protocol, is just absolutely magnificent, and I invite anyone who is interested in exploring no plant gaps to check it out.
Hi, just a quick note. As I continue to provide you with free content, I am reminded of the power of community and sharing. If you find value in what you hear, I kindly ask you to share this video with your family, with your friends, and with other community members. So let's join hands in spreading the knowledge and benefits of no plant gaps, detox modalities, and healing. And remember, if you are eager to explore further, our online training is just a click away.
That's wonderful. Just very comprehensive, like covering all the things that would pop into anybody's mind, questions, the challenges that maybe you didn't think of at first, like you were talking about the gradual transition that's needed, all of that. That's so great. I know I'm really excited for that. I'm definitely going to be sharing this with my clients too, as an extra resource for going further with no plant gaps.
Thank you.
Yeah, very valuable.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one more thing, which I forgot.
Yeah.
There is also a more troubleshooting module, because when we start the most healing and the most detoxing spectrum of gaps, which is no plant gaps, everyone experiences some symptoms. So in the troubleshooting module, there are lots of strategies on how to overcome them and how to make that journey smoother.
That's great. That's wonderful. It's so important. Yeah, giving people all the tools they need to have success with it. And you kind of went into this, but if there's anything more that you wanted to add, can you kind of describe what kind of content and resources you can expect to find in the training program, like maybe added resources, extras, anything else that you wanted to kind of add?
Yeah, sure. So the course is designed that it's very easy to follow. There are lots of videos, short videos, longer videos, lots of how-to guides, lots of step-by-step instructions, lots of e-guides where people can just download it, print it out, have it in the kitchen, wherever, or their workspaces, wherever it's convenient for them. So everything is, the complex information is simplified. So even if you've got the biggest brain fog, you will be easy. You can follow it without any issues, because all the informations is very easy to find and to follow, and it's very practical.
Nice. Yeah, that's the word I had in my mind too, just very practical, which is so, yeah, it's got to be that way when you're just starting. I know that I always keep that in mind, helping people at the beginning of gaps too. It's just like, you're not feeling good, you got brain fog. So yeah, anytime it's just like broken down, very practical, that's so good. So important. And then can you share with us, how was the collaboration with Dr. Natasha? Can you kind of go into what all that entailed? Like that is a really exciting part about this too. So if you can tell us more about that.
Well, in one word, wonderful. I don't think I can even find words to describe how grateful I am to have met Dr. Natasha, to collaborate with her, to still be part of her team. Dr. Natasha is an old soul and a modern angel, and she's so patient. I always ask lots of questions, and I'm very inquisitive. And Dr. Natasha never made me feel that that I ask, I don't know, silly or stupid questions or irrelevant questions. She always had so much patience for every single question I've asked, and also her explanations are so simple and so easy to understand. You know, there is so much complexity about our bodies, about the chemistry and processes in our bodies, and that could get really, really overwhelming. And Dr. Natasha uses such an easy language and analogies and examples that she makes everything sound so simple and so relevant, and that I'm very, very humble that I was able to spend so much time with her, and she was very generous with her time and very patient with me, you know, whether it was chatting on the Zoom call or whether it was me at her farm. And I really appreciated, you know, times where when the discussions went beyond no plant gaps, when discussion went into energetic healing, into spiritual healing, and things beyond that, because obviously it's not only about foods, but also how do we source foods. You know, she's very open and transparent about it. You know, food is information. So, you know, when we choose to buy in a supermarket, we do buy suffering and we consume suffering. If we choose to support a local farmer who loves the animals, who love their they farm, what we buy, what we then cook, and what we then consume is the love, is the healing, and I absolutely adore Dr. Natasha for that, because it's not only her knowledge is beyond the scientific or the clinical proof. It just goes so deeper.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like her books don't even, like, her books are amazing, but a book is only a book, and there's so much. Whenever I've listened to her talks and the training that I did for my training with her, it's just, there's so much there. And I totally agree with what you said about how she explains everything. I'm always sending people back to her yellow book, where she has the little cartoons in there of how the enterocytes work in the digestive tract. It's just so, like, anybody can understand that so easily. It's just great. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, she's a wonderful human being, and I'm so grateful for her wisdom. And obviously, she is a miracle in this world, because so many people healed because of her. So
Yes,
it's fantastic to be part of her gang, I suppose.
Yes, yeah. Yes, I agree. She's just, I'm so grateful to her as well. Just, yeah, can hardly express it with words. Can you also, you kind of touched on this a little bit when you were talking about some of the things that you kind of have to know about transitioning to no plant and how it works, kind of the basic fundamentals, but can you also go into a little bit about if somebody's new to no plant gaps, kind of how they can get started, just some, because I know that there's going to be a lot of interest from my followers in this, because I have lots of people interested in gaps in general, and I know that this is becoming more of a need, the way that people's health is going these days. So yeah, if you can kind of talk through some things about if somebody's new to it, what do they need to know to get started, and kind of basics for getting started.
You're absolutely right, Marisa. I think we live in a world which is getting more toxic, more polluted. People have more allergies, more they becoming more intolerant to foods, and animal-based diet, and especially no plant gaps, is definitely a way forward. So where I would start, number one, the Blue Book. I would read the whole book rather than just a section about no plant gaps. There are only 3 pages of no plant gaps in that book. Obviously, Dr. Natasha put information, I would call it a raw structure of no plant gaps protocol. And there is so much more to explore and to learn about it. I invite people to come to my blog. I have lots of articles about no plant gaps as well, and in my Facebook group there are lots of people asking lots of questions. I think the whole healing journey should always start with asking a lot of questions, because anyone listening to our conversation now is it's us who are responsible for our own healing. It's not the doctor, it's not the practitioner, it's us. So the more we ask, the more we will then have confidence which protocol is the right one for us. And we as GAPS coaches, we can help to say, okay, based on your clinical situation, I think that's great for you to do that. If you are serious about no plant gaps and you feel you're ready, because let's say you've already followed full gaps, you've already followed no plant gaps, you achieved some healing, but you're stuck, or you are in that severe kind of, bracket, and that's the best option for you, then I invite you to explore that online training, because that will give you answers to, I wouldn't say to all of the answers, because it's impossible to answer everything, but it will cover 95% of the answers, but it will cover all of the most important questions. So that's where I would start if you brand new to, or even if you're not brand new, you started kind of researching and exploring, I would probably go that route.
Okay, that's great. And then can you tell us what is your blog again?
www.monikaholland.com. So my name, basically, monikaholland.com.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you have so many great resources there too. So I'm sure people are going to want to check that out as well. Can you also let us know, I know you've touched on this also a little bit, but I think it'd be really good to go into this deeper too. What are some of the common challenges that people face when starting no plant gaps?
Okay, so there's many, but I just wanted to maybe divide it into maybe two groups. So the group of people who shouldn't start no plant gaps and they starting it, and then people who should start no plant gaps and they starting it, but they don't know what they're doing. So let's talk about the first group. So I've kind of briefly touched who shouldn't start no plant gaps. Those who've been their whole life on, let's say, standard American diet, or a diet which is heavy in processed foods. Just don't go cold turkey to no plant gaps without help. I'm not saying don't do it at all. I'm saying don't do it on your own, because there are some exceptions where people need to actually do it. But I would say if you are new to gaps, you start with either intro or you start with either full gaps. You work with, let's say, go to Marisa. She can adjust this protocol to your needs, or work with another practitioner or coach. All of us, we are trained to help you to adjust it to and tailor it to your needs, and assess, okay, which spectrum of protocol will be the best. But I would say maybe don't jump cold turkey into no plant gaps, because it may be too healing and it may be too detoxing for your body. So it may be very, very, very rough journey. The second group of people who I would say be very, very cautious are people who, let's say, already follow, it could be even other type of low carb diet or any other, so-called healing diet, but is a diet high in oxalates. So let me just name a few examples. So I don't know, typically vegans, typically vegetarians, typically people consuming high oxalate foods, which are, let's say, spinach, which are potatoes, which are nuts, which are beetroots, which are dried fruits. So let's say if you've been, I don't know, having spinach pancakes in the morning, then you've done your spinach juice, then you had your almond flour bread for lunch, then you ate potatoes and you had cassava crisps instead of commercial crisps, then you probably consuming 1,000 to 2,000 oxalates each day. Our body can process 50, and you're consuming 1,000 or maybe even 2,000 a day milligrams. And if people who are on a high oxalate diet, if they stop oxalate cold turkey, then the body gets a little bit cocky and they say, okay, you're strong enough now, I can dump those oxalates. And let me just give a very quick explanation. I know we're probably not going to go deeply into oxalates. It's a very important subject. So just a very brief explanation. Oxalates are like a little crystals. They're very sharp, like little shards, and they accumulate in your body if you do not follow seasonal traditional food. So if you eat spinach all year round, that spinach will, that oxalates from spinach will accumulate in the body. So the moment the body starts releasing, dumping those oxalates, they go through the whole body. They can, because they're sharp, they can cut through your kidney, they can cut through the membranes. And that is a dangerous situation. It could be a dangerous situation. So one of the things what I always urge people, oxalate dumping is not a detox reaction. It's not something to push through. So if you're thinking, oh, I've been eating high oxalate foods for the past 2, 10, 15, 20 years, then please do work with someone, because that might not be a good idea to do no plant gaps. I do have clients who have to be on no plant gaps because of the severity of the condition, but we mitigate the oxalate dumping by providing some liquid oxalate drinks, not oxalate foods, but the drinks high in oxalates, and we work with minerals to kind of mitigate those challenges. And the second group of people who are perfect candidates for no plant gaps, they already done some healing on full gaps, they perhaps done some healing on intro gaps, and they want that deeper healing, or their body is ready for no plant gaps, and they just don't do it correctly. They've read something on the internet, and typically they pick one of the types of carnivore diet, they just add a little bit of meat stock, and they think that's the no plant gaps. And they stall, and they don't get any improvement, and they think, oh, it's not working. Or there are some people who still have a lot of toxicity, especially heavy metals, and they start eating organ meats too early. And the body says, like, hang on a minute, that food is too healing for me at this point. You need to open your drainage pathways. You need to open the detox pathway. My liver is not going to deal with so much concentrated level of B vitamins and other healing compounds in the liver. And also, you know, there are many challenges where people start this diet and there is the detox reaction and there is a healing reaction, and there are some unwanted symptoms, which are just signals from the body telling what to do next. And that's why there is a lot of that in the course, just showing people what to do about it. Because sadly, people quite often, when they do it, then they develop a lot of fears about the foods. They develop fears about, oh, I'm actually harming myself rather than healing. And I think educating yourself on how to do that diet properly is so important. So that's just more or less the most common challenges. And many of my clients got lots of individual challenges, which also I kind of incorporated in the training as well.
Great. Yeah, that's all so good to know. It kind of covers so many of the common situations of people coming to it and kind of what to know. So that's really, really good to know. Yeah, and I did a video not too long ago about oxalates and kind of covering all those different things about them. So if any of you guys have watched that one, you'll kind of recognize some of those ideas from it. So that fits really well with this topic as well. Yeah, good. Okay, so that was all so wonderful. I'm really excited about this because I feel like in the GAPS world, this was so needed, just like a good comprehensive resource from somebody who knows no plant gaps, has experienced it themselves, been helping people. Yeah, I'm very excited about this, to be able to share it with people who need it, learn from it myself, to be able to, go deeper into this certain modality of GAPS. Can you tell people where exactly they can find this? We'll have links down below this video where you can find your blog, this course, everything that we've mentioned here, but can you also just tell us too, again, the name of your program and then where you can be found?
Absolutely. So my website is www.monikaholland.com, and Monika is with the K. So it's a Polish spelling, Monika, Holland as a country, HOLLAND.com. And on my website, there you will see the no plant gaps training there. But if you want to just go directly to my online training platform, is greatgutguide.com. But it also sits under the website, and if we'll probably put up the links below the video so people can just click and find it without any issues.
Okay, great. Yeah, good to know. Yep, they'll be down below as well, but sometimes people love to hear the name of it too, and it sometimes sticks a little bit better. So thank you for sharing that. This was so good, so much great information. I enjoyed this so much. Yeah, I've admired everything that I've kind of been following from you so far, your materials, your resources that you offer, and courses within the GAPS world and other things that Dr. Natasha puts on. So it's been a really big honor to have you in this interview with me. Really appreciate everything that you've shared. And yeah, I hope that if anybody has further kind of experiences that they want to share around sort of more animal-based eating, no plant gaps, make sure to leave comments down below, kind of sharing where you're at in this. And we would love to kind of hear, where everybody else is at with that. So, and then check out those links in the description box for where you can find Monika's resources, her website, and her program that she created. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody who you think would find it helpful or interesting, maybe somebody in your life who you think could really benefit from learning more about no plant gaps and going deeper into that version of gaps.
And I just wanted to say, Marisa, I absolutely I adore your YouTube channel. I need to tell you a little personal story. I am Polish, and in Poland, every child is born with a jar of lard. We don't know how to do beef tallow. And for years, I was trying to do beef tallow correctly, and I was just giving up because, like, I always ended up buying it because each time it just got spoiled. And then I've discovered your video. So, and just your videos are so great, so informative, and the instructions are so clear that I've learned so much from your YouTube channel. And I invite anyone who is listening to this video, just, you know, get instead of binge watching Netflix or binge watching or doing some stuff on Facebook, just go on Marisa's YouTube channel and binge watch the videos, because you're going to learn a lot of the stuff which is going to help you heal.
Well, thank you again for joining us, and thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you so much. I'm really humbled and very grateful to be part of this interview. Take care. Bye.